ladies, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade and I help people reclaim their power back physically, mentally and spiritually. Now today is an extremely needed video as I have seen this so many times for years now and it's getting painful, and I do my best to try and stay out of drama, trying to just keep myself to myself and teach what I believe, etc. However, it's come to the time now where it's just getting dangerous, and I see it all the time with so many new agers and even witches, any people within the spiritual community leaving the spiritual community entirely, either just becoming an atheist or even running back to Christianity or the church due to fear of New Age teachings, thinking that it's all demonic, it's all bad. This is because of certain lies that have been told in the New Age and certain teachings that have been shunned in the New Age, which leads people down a really dangerous path spiritually and can actually get them in a lot of trouble. So this is why I'm doing this video today, to debunk the New Age and expose it and lies and deceptions within the New Age community, so hopefully you will not fall into these traps yourself, because if you do, it can be really detrimental to your entire life. Like, this is life or death in certain circumstances, so this is not to be taken lightly, what I'm about to say. Now, the first lie, biggest deception that I see is shunning the existence of demons. Demons as actual entities. And the only reason that they do this is because they believe that demons stem from the Bible and the Bible alone and Christian faith. But that's not the case. Demons is just a label. Basically what you are doing is basically shunning the existence of negative entities. Now, what really makes me laugh is how people in the New Age are all about Archangel Michael and loving him, and Pleiadians and all these unicorns and basically angelic light beings. They're all about angelic light beings and have such strong faith in spirit guides and all these things, all these beings, entities, angels, but then they completely shun existence of demonic negative entities. Now this is such a stupid thing to do, and it's really foolish, because we live in a matrix of polarity. So where there is light, there is dark, as above so below, but inverted. We're in the middle, okay, and there are 7 realms above us and there are 7 realms below us, and they are equal in power, but there is light and there is dark. So most people, it's just so ridiculous, and it doesn't make sense to believe in one and then not believe in its counterpart, in its opposite. Because there is hot, there is cold, there is yin, there is yang, there is feminine, there is masculine. So there is light, there is dark. It's just how the game works. We live in like a cosmic simulation, and we have light beings and we have dark beings to create balance, okay? So to shun that is like shunning the existence of balance and polarity. It's just ridiculous. And it's only because they link it to Christianity and rules and, dogmatic ruling and all that BS, but it's not to do with that at all. Like, negative beings have been known throughout centuries, throughout all different times and different civilizations, and they all have different names. There's so many, shamans who know about all these demonic beings, and they all have their different labels and names. But of course they exist, because we live in a soup of so many different realities and dimensions. So there is many different types of negative beings. There is stronger sort of demonic beings, if you want to call them demonic, who are like, angels, but they are inverted. There are more lesser ones, parasitic ones, astral parasites I call them, which can cause, bad things, addictions and such, stuff in your life and feed off your energy. There's incubuses, there's succubuses, there's sexual demons that feed off your sexual energy. And when you are practicing occultic practices, because everything in the New Age is occultic, meditation, spell work, even crystal work, any sort of Reiki, you know, loads of energy work, you're opening yourself up. You're opening yourself up to other dimensions. And if you are just ignorant and foolish and believe there is no negative demons, blah, 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 there's no negative entities, you can really, really shoot yourself in the foot and you can potentially destroy your life. It's really that simple. That's why you see so many ex-yoga teachers, so many ex-meditation teachers, because they experience this and then they actually come to the conclusion of, fuck, they are real. We are living in a spiritual warfare, because we are, of course we are. And it's just complete ignorance and narcissism, really, to just shun the existence of, you know, negative counterparts to light beings. And it's unfortunate, because if people realised this and actually took accountability and knowledge and learned about real, genuine demonology and how to protect themselves properly within the New Age from negative entities, then my God, we would have so many more, you know, balanced, powerful healers amongst us. But because they shun them, it's like, it's just, it makes you weak, it makes you vulnerable. So, and if you're just going around doing these things and opening yourself up, doing chakra meditations, etc., and then you don't close yourself off, or you do these things whilst you're on a low vibration, then you are attracting them to you. So I will talk about this more in the future, but watch my What is Demons video to find out more, as I can't make this video too long. But just know that there is negative entities. They do exist. They're not just fear, they're not thoughts, you know, manifestations that you create in your head. You have a lot of control, but you're not like that. So realize that they're real and don't be foolish and protect yourself. So the most important thing to protect yourself is to have a high vibration and to be pure of heart whilst dealing with any sort of occultic practice. Now, this links to the second lie, and that is, there is no good or bad. Now, many people, it makes me die, because many people don't actually realize where this teaching comes from. And this teaching comes from Satanism, originally, if you really do your research. And this is because they are trying to brainwash people to eradicate morality. Because if you're in the spiritual community and you disregard morals, then where's your limits to what you will do to empower yourself? And this can go as far as, you know, then sacrifice, blood sacrifice on animals, even on children. Like, this happens, okay, if you really do your research, and it has been happening for centuries. In genuine Luciferianism, satanic religion, which a lot of the New Age actually comes from, teaching-wise, because there are some certain truths to it. They have been doing blood sacrifices for a millennia. They have been doing blood sacrifices for centuries, secretly. And a lot of it is child sacrifice, and it's all about worshipping the flesh. It's all about them empowering themselves, because they want to basically become gods on earth. And this is where no good or bad has been, you know, kind of weaved its way into the New Age. Because, and another thing, is because most people say there is no good or bad, because this then justifies their addictions. This then justifies attachments which are negative, okay? So this can be highly dangerous, because if you go to a tantric school, for example, and you want to learn about sacred sex, you know, spiritual energy, and then you have a guy there, you know, a teacher, a false guru, which there are many of, by the way. This is why it's so vital to have discernment. And he comes to you and says, oh, you know, there is nothing wrong with having group sex. There is nothing wrong with having group orgies. You know, there's nothing wrong with you having sex with me, which has happened many times in tantric schools, a lot of rape and abuse. you know, manipulation into getting people to have sex with them. So you're then exploiting yourself and giving in to certain things that are on a really low vibration, because we live in a matrix of duality. So of course there is good and bad, but it doesn't mean rules. It doesn't mean Christianity and sinning and all that. It means negative energy and positive energy. That's what it means. So there are certain things that have a high vibrational positive energy blueprint to them, and there are certain things that have a negative vibrational quality to them as well. So certain things have a low vibration, certain things have a positive vibration, good, bad. And in our hearts, we will always know subconsciously what they are. You know, like we naturally know not to abuse one another. We naturally know not to kick a dog in the face. We naturally know not to stab a little kitten, etc., or abuse a child, because we feel it. It's like, oh God, that's awful energy. But there are certain things that have been brainwashed and manipulated to make them seem like they are not bad, such as alcohol consumption. That is a really powerful doorway for spirits to get into you, and I'll do a whole separate video on that in the future. I've been sober for like probably 7 years now, and it's the best decision I ever made, and it massively helped me wake up and empower myself and protect myself from negative entities. Certain drugs, and with sex, you know, group sex is really dodgy, because you are then taking on all the karma and negative energy from that person that you're having sex with, because sex is really powerful and sacred. It's a sacred energy exchange. So as soon as you connect to someone body to body, you are connecting spirits, you're connecting all their memories go into you subconsciously. So their whole energy then goes within you, and women absorb more energy than men because of our wombs, and our wombs are like gateways, they're literal gateways. So you're taking on all their demons. So if you're having sex with someone that's really negative, really toxic, you know, a narcissist or someone who has an ancestral curse within their bloodline, part of that goes into you. And then you're now going to have all that sort of negative toxic energy within your auric field, and that is then like attracts negative entities to you. So this is why I am against poly relationships and group sex and all that sort of thing. Again, been there, done that. I will do a video on that in the future, because it makes you very, it's chaotic. It makes your whole energy field chaotic, messy. You have loads of baggage from other people. We have enough baggage as it is, just with our own energies and ancestors. Why do you want to take on someone else's? So never sleep with someone you wouldn't want to be, is a good rule of thumb. But yeah, so basically no good or bad is like, it's just, again, it links to Satanism, because that's what they teach, to basically just worship your own self, you know, you are a god, take revenge, you know, look good. It's all based on ego, basically. Void of compassion, void of empathy, void of love, basically. Because if there is no morals of good and right and wrong, then why will people bother helping each other? Why will people bother helping the needy, the homeless, animal sanctuaries, etc.? You know, compassion and empathy is the most needed emotions ever on this planet, and it is severely lacking. Now, the third thing is you must stay positive all the time, because you create everything. Now, again, really toxic teaching, because one, it is not practical. You are a human being, you are emotional, especially with women. You are part of the moon. We all have cycles. So there are times when you'll feel down, naturally. There are times where you'll feel more tired. There are times you'll have bad days, and there are times that you'll have good days. However, sometimes it's the bad days and your negative days and your breakdowns that actually are the most important. They're the most profound, because if you're positive all the time, that's like putting a band-aid on the wound that's rotting and festering underneath. And you're like, oh no, let's just cover that up and completely ignore that and just have a fake smile on my face all the time. Utter bullshit. most of us have traumas. Most of us have really deep wounds from our childhood, from our ancestral lines, from many, many things that need to come to the surface to be let go of and healed. And you will never in a million years be able to do this with, this is called shadow work. You will never be able to do that important shadow work if you're constantly trying to force yourself to be positive all the time and become like the positivity police. It's utter bollocks, because of course it's beneficial for you to be optimistic to the best of your ability, and don't talk down about yourself. Don't, you know, do everything you can to be of a high vibration, which is completely different. But if you're trying to force positivity to the point where it's fake, that's toxic, because you are then suppressing negative energy that's stuck and blocking you inside your body. And this can then make people have severe breakdowns, severe depression, nervous breakdowns, anxiety. This is why you see so many people with so much severe anxiety nowadays, especially young people, because they're not talking about bad things because it's like, oh, that's negative. Bollocks. You need to get it out of your system. You need to talk about these things. You need to have a rant. If you're angry, be angry, because you have to let that anger out of your body. If you don't, it can actually make you physically ill. It can actually attack your liver. It can attack certain organs, because negative energies is like it's like a cancer in your body. And certain people even believe that suppressed anger causes cancer. So this is not to be taken lightly. So if you have severe rage or anger or any sort of negative emotion, you need to face it. You can't suppress it and just be like, oh, and just draw a fake smile on your face because you must be positive. Bollocks. And this goes the same with facing real life issues that are happening in the world. Like, a lot of people on the new age will purposely shun anything that's negative. Like, they won't go out their way to really research what's going on in the world to do with the, you know, the elite, or, you know, the, I can't say too much, otherwise I might have this video banned, removed. You know, certain dark forces within the world, even with demonology, they won't even look into demonology because it's negative. So this is such a, do you see how everything's linked? How all these things are linked, basically to make you vulnerable and to suffer more. It's such a toxic thing, and I fell victim to this years ago when I first got into the spiritual bandwagon of crystals and meditation. And then I became my own positivity police, and I started doing it to other people. As soon as people were having a bad day or moaning about something, I'd be like, oh, that's negative, you shouldn't say that. But sometimes people need to rant. Sometimes people need to get things off their chest, and that's a healing thing. So you have to be neutral to it. Of course, it's balance. Again, with the good and bad, you must accept your darkness and you must accept your light, because both of them make you whole. You need both. And of course, I don't mean, oh, just be negative all the time and talk. No, I don't mean that. But you can't force positivity. You have to have that certain level of conscious maturity to recognize when you have a toxic thought, or recognize when there's something not quite right going on in your life, your body, a relationship, and then have the maturity and the confidence to face it, to talk about it, to go get therapy about it, to whatever it takes, basically. You have to find healthy ways of letting it out. For me personally, because I used to struggle, you know, typical Aries, with anger, I would go to the gym and lift weights. And for me, you know, I'd put on some rock music, you know, any sort of fast-paced music that actually, you know, signals you to get angry. Because music can massively affect your subconscious. Check out my music video about that. But that would help me to bring up the anger that's been stored in my liver, that's been stored in my heart, because I was healing from an abusive relationship that I was stuck in for many years. So I would take all that anger and also, you know, anger that I felt towards the world, because I'm, you know, an empath. And I would let it out, and I'd, you know, punch a punching bag, I'd lift heavy weights, and I got really strong. You know, so find a good way to release it. You know, get a stick and just beat the shit out of your bed. You know, beat the shit out of a pillow. Don't store it. Don't store it, and don't feel bad. Don't fall into the trap of that, because that's a recipe for disaster later down the line. And they teach you, it's how you learn, basically. If you're happy and go lucky all the time, what are you going to learn? Nothing. This is part of being human. This is what you signed up for. This is what your soul signed up for when you incarnated into your body in this lifetime. So you're not here to be a damn robot, okay? So always remember that. This links onto the fourth thing that I want to state as well, and it's again another sort of half lie of you create everything in your reality. Now this can drive people insane, because as soon as something bad happens, as soon as you understand law of attraction and manifesting, blah blah blah, and I again a fall victim to this, as soon as something really bad happens in your life, you will blame yourself, and you will go into a real big self-hatred. Oh my God, what have I done to manifest this? You know, I'm such a dick. Oh, what have I done? And then you beat yourself up over it. So you need to understand that not everything is caused by your thoughts. There is way more complicated than that. A lot of the times, this is again links to why you can't be positive all the time, because most of the time, what you create stems from your subconscious. So if you have had a really traumatic childhood, any sort of traumas, blah, 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 you'll naturally be manifesting negative things sometimes, because you haven't healed that inner wound. So this is why shadow work is so important. Otherwise, if you don't heal your inner wounds, you will keep manifesting certain things. And then you're conscious, and it doesn't matter if you're consciously trying to think positive and consciously trying to do all the right things. If you don't address your subconscious and you don't raise your frequency to a high enough level, you will keep manifesting it all the time. And it's not your fault, because sometimes it comes from your ancestors. So what people really heavily neglect in the New Age is ancestral bloodline curses, ancestral bloodline hexes, because you have the same blood as your ancestors. So a part of your ancestors is running through your body right now, is running through your veins. So if your ancestors were bad, and if they'd done some sort of black magic, especially if they used their blood, like any sort of blood magic, in a negative way, then you might have demonic things attached to you since birth. And I've had this, and it's awful, because it's like a curse within your whole family. So if you're, you know, in your family and you're trying, and you just have the most unusual bad luck, even though you're doing everything right and you're working so hard, but bad things always seem to happen to you, it's 100% an ancestral curse, because unfortunately it gets passed down. So this is why certain babies might have really awful things happen to them, and children, and people always wonder, why do bad things happen to good people? It's because of this. It's because your ancestors probably done something, or they endured some sort of severe trauma, and that trauma is then stuck in your ancestral energy, in their blood. So because your blood is connected to your spirit, it's very important to understand that. And this is how you break them, is by basically being an alchemist. And it's such hard work, trust me, I know. And the only way to break an ancestral curse is basically to be an alchemist and turn that pain into love. And it's very tedious and takes many years of shadow work and healing. But if you don't do it, then it will carry on, and then it will go into your children, and then their children, and then their children, and it's just a horrible vicious circle. So you're the one to break it. And you'll notice this if you and your family seem to always have really bad luck. And I mean unusually bad, like unusual bad luck. It's probably not your fault, it's your ancestors. And it doesn't mean that you get angry or like hate your ancestors, because again, it might not have been their fault. It doesn't always mean that they done black magic. Sometimes it was them doing something really dark, like murdering someone or raping, etc. But a lot of the time it's something that happened to them and it caused severe trauma. and then that emotion got stuck, and then it's been passed down for generations. And again, I find this a lot with witches as well, because obviously we would have had ancestors that were burnt at the stake, that were harmed, that were tortured. So we have that inner fire in us, that inner anger, and like passion to stick up for other women, etc. So you don't create everything essentially. You have a lot of control over things, but always remember this. Remember your blood, remember your ancestors, remember your subconscious. And sometimes karma from previous lifetimes as well. Sometimes you have to endure pain and suffering because you caused that in a past life. You might have been naughty, you might have done something, and then you've had to come and live certain life lessons to repay that karma back, to heal. And remember, even though you go through these things, it's always for your own good. It's always for the benefit of your soul, your consciousness to learn and grow. Trust me, I've been through absolute hell. And I've been, you know, I've been through it. But I'm ultimately grateful for that, because I wouldn't be as strong as I am today if I didn't endure such pain and suffering. So you just have to do the inner work, meditate on it, go within and find the truth. Use your intents to really find the truth of things. And number 5 is a mixture of all the things I've kind of stated, and that is that meditation, the law of attraction, doing certain occultic practices, is astral projection, is all 100% safe. It is not 100% safe, and I'm just going to say that now. Because again, if you understand everything that I've stated and you take into account of the existence of negative entities, you take into the account of ancestral hexes, curses, blah blah blah, and you understand low vibrational energy, then you should understand that these certain practices aren't always beneficial for you. Because you are basically opening yourself up to different dimensions when you meditate, when you astral project, when you do rituals, spells, ceremonies, etc. Even tarot reading. And this is the confusion of them being branded as demonic. But they are not inherently demonic or bad. They are tools. Magic is neither black nor white. It is basically how you use it. It's all based on your heart the majority of the time, not all the time, but the majority. This is why it's so important to use magic in a very humble, non-egotistical, non-narcissistic way. Because if you're trying to conjure magic or do anything that's really of a negative vibration, then that's going to come back at you 3 times. I do believe in the threefold law because I experienced it before I even knew about it, so I know it wasn't a placebo. And what you reap, you sow. That is the law of the universe, of this matrix. Okay, so what you give out, you get back. So if you keep giving out love, healing, and you're humble, you're not selfish, you're going to get that back. If you're grateful, you're going to have a much more peaceful, content, loving life. And I know this from my own experience. If you're trying to manipulate, control, get revenge, do dark things, and then you're trying to, then at the same time you're practicing meditation and all these things, you're opening yourself up to entities that are on that vibration. So all entities, you know, angels, demons, whatever you want to label them as, have a certain vibration to them. So if you're doing things that aren't beneficial to you, such as watching porn, eating loads of meat, alcohol, certain drugs, lying, cheating, stealing, basically being abusive to other people, and then at the same time you're meditating, doing spell work and all these occultic practices that open you up to different dimensions, you are going to get in trouble, because you're going to manifest certain things that can even pretend to be your spirit guides to trick you, to basically make you do things or have certain thoughts so they can feed off your energy. And again, I experienced this with a succubus, with an incubus, because I wasn't in the best vibration when I started doing excessive meditation, chakra meditation, and certain Kundalini yoga, and basically really opening myself up. But I was also in a very toxic relationship Sometimes it's not always your fault, because if you're quite stable but you're in a toxic relationship and having sex with a toxic person that is addicted to porn or is violent or is basically a toxic person, then part of their energy is constantly inside you. So then if you're meditating and you're having sex with that person, you're going to be really open to certain negative vibrations and astral parasites that are then going to attach to you. So it's so important to just have a pure, clean energy body, because you have an energy body where all this sort of stuff is stuck and stays within. And basically you need to just really understand how we live in a very complicated matrix where there is many different parallel realities, many different dimensions where these beings live. So you want to be on a high vibration when you're doing any sort of occultic practices, even the law of attraction. So when you're on the spiritual path, it's really important to be humble, to be selfless, and to be compassionate and loving, and have empathy for people and animals and the earth. Otherwise, you're really gonna get in trouble, basically. And I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. This is just what I've learned. You know, been involved in this for many years, and I've seen both extreme darkness and amazing lights. And it took me a long time to really have the discernment and the maturity to grow, to spiritually grow, and to realize these truths. So don't run off to the church if you you know, have any sort of problems with demons or anything, because the church won't save you. Again, been there, done that. When I was experiencing really bad attacks, church and saw priests, had my house blessed all the time, none of it worked. It's because it's a frequency thing. And basically a demon, an angel, any sort of ghost, they're literally just energy living in a different dimension. And that's the simplest form I can really put it in. And each one of them has a frequency to them, negative or positive, as with everything in this matrix. So that's my video for today. Hope it was understandable. Let me know in the comments your experiences with New Age, and any sort of future videos or subjects that you want me to clarify more on, as I'm always open to doing videos that you guys want to see. So lots and lots of love, light and protection to you. Ahimsa.